Starting a podcast can feel really overwhelming. But here's the truth. You don't need expensive equipment, some groundbreaking idea, or even to be an expert to start your show. Every successful podcaster you admire started from zero listeners, zero confidence, and often zero clue what they were doing. But they followed their curiosity and passion, and the clarity and confidence and skill came through the process. Starting was the secret to their success. But if that's all it takes, then how come the majority of us never get off the ground with our show? We may be sitting on an idea for years, maybe we've even purchased equipment, practiced recording, but our recordings never make it to the podcast players. Why is that first jump into actually starting so difficult? This is something we deal with every day at PSS Creative Media because helping people get out of their comfort zone and actually in front of a microphone making episodes, that's what we do for a living. So you're in the right place. I'm Steven, I'm your new podcast coach. And at PSS, not only have we figured out what it is that actually keeps people from starting, but we've also developed a framework that works. And I have a crazy big promise for you. If you stick with us, by the time you're done watching this short video, your podcast will be live on Spotify. Don't believe me? Stick around. Okay, so you might be thinking, there's no way this guy's gonna get me to start a podcast over the course of one YouTube video. But the reason that I can make this promise is because we've developed an interactive, collaborative process with this YouTube video. So let me break down exactly how this process works and introduce you to our 5-step method that we are going to follow. But before I do, we've got to tackle a serious issue. And that is the reason that people don't start their podcast. Because if you can't tackle that problem right now, then we can't move forward yet in this process. Really, you can lump in all of the reasons that people don't start into one thing, and that is overthinking. We either overthink to the point of freezing or analysis paralysis, we become overwhelmed with everything that actually goes into starting a podcast, or we get caught up in our mind with insecurities. Luckily, we have a simple way of tackling this problem with our clients and creators in our programs, and that is to help you to simplify your goals and shorten your time commitments. Inspired by the book, The 12-Week Year, what we recommend to clients and creators is to plan their podcast in 12-episode chunks or 12-week chunks. By reducing the stakes of your commitment to just the next 12 episodes, that's all I'm committing to, we reduce the overwhelm and we reduce the dreaming and increase the doing. We're not thinking about when you get famous 2 years from now. We are just thinking about the next 12 episodes. All right, now we can get cruising. Let's get the show on the road. So here is how this collaborative process is going to work. This video includes pause points and step-by-step timestamps so you can learn in the way that suits you best. In addition to that, we've added a level of collaboration and interactivity in 2 ways. Right where you're watching this video, in the description and also the pinned comment, you will find a link for a free worksheet. You don't have to provide your email or anything, completely free. This worksheet is going to come into play when I pass you over to Veronica, our marketing expert, and she helps you to develop your topic, title, and trailer. The other way that we've made this process collaborative and also sprinkled in some accountability is by creating a place for you to share your podcast with us after you've completed the steps in this video. This way we can actually listen to your show and provide you with real feedback. And that is pss.media/myshow. Does that scare you a little bit that we're gonna be listening to your show? Good, we're moving in the right direction. This is happening. You're making a podcast today. Let's get going with step number 1. Step number 1 is to choose your podcast hosting solution. Buzzsprout is our top choice for podcast hosting solutions, and it has been for many years now at PSS. They have a slick, easy to follow interface that actually walks you through this 5-step process of building your show. They also have industry-leading features for every stage of your podcast growth. And if that wasn't enough, Buzzsprout is also sponsoring this video for you. Now, if you're bummed out that step number 1 isn't equipment, or you're thinking there's no way he's gonna get me to start a podcast because I don't have any equipment, or I do have equipment, but I don't know how it works. Use whatever you have to record a simple trailer, no editing needed. Stick around till the end, and after finishing the 5 steps, I'll share my gear recommendations to upgrade when you're ready. We wouldn't leave you hanging. So the first step is really to sign up with Buzzsprout.com. That way you can follow along for free with us in this video. So let's do that together. Here we are at Buzzsprout.com. All you gotta do is click on Get Started for Free. And the only information you'll need to give them is your name and email. Then you create your password. I'm gonna choose I'm a new podcaster. And right off the bat, we are taken to this page, which is really the first 2 steps of your podcast. And that is your podcast title and the podcast description. And within the podcast description, what we're really looking for is your podcast topic, kind of an elevator pitch of your show. So we're gonna need to make these decisions. And so for that, I'll pass you off to Veronica for some exciting show development. She's gonna run you through her PSS 3T framework. When you're done with her, we will have a title and a podcast description that we can put here in Buzzsprout. Okay, so this is one of the first pausing moments of the video. If you are the pausing type, here's a great place to pause, ensure that you get set up for Buzzsprout, and then come right back to work with Veronica. All right, step 1 complete. Let's move on to step 2, show development.
Hey there, most people think that in order for them to get started with their podcast, they need to have everything perfectly planned, but that is just not true. Podcasting and content creation is a journey, and the most important step that you need to take is to get started, and that's what we're going to do. But I'm not just going to let you go through the process of recording without having anything prepared. That's what I am here for. And for this, I prepare a downloadable worksheet. It's a Google document. It's called the 3T framework. And that's a framework that I use with my clients and with my students. It's a very effective framework, and we're going to go through it together. And the reason why I put the 3T framework together is because this is the place where people get stuck the most. They overthink it, they either ignore it altogether, or they get stuck in figuring out what the name of the podcast is going to be, what are they going to podcast about, what their first episode is going to be. You're not going to go through that because you're here with me and we're going to get to work. Once you click on the link, it's going to take you to this screen, and here you want to click on make a copy. And as you can see, it creates a copy that is going to be stored in your Google Drive, in your documents. As I mentioned, the worksheet is called 3T Framework for Podcast Planning: Topic, Title, and Trailer. And here's a little introduction that I made for you. I put a lot of love and work into this worksheet. It has a lot of color, it's color coordinated. It has everything you need to move along to find your topic, your title, and to put together your trailer. Let's dive into it. Step 1, find your topic. Choosing a topic can feel overwhelming, but here's the good news. You already have everything you need. This step is about taking what you love, what you're curious about, what you already know, and matching it with the people you want to help and the problem that you want to solve for them. First, fill out the table with topics you love, are curious about, or have experience in. Think about who you want to help and the challenges that they're facing. Then add the benefits that they will get from listening to your podcast. Let's use an example. Let's say that I am really into fitness and wellness, which I am. And then let's say that I really want to help busy moms. I am a busy mom. I know how it is to juggle different things and to not prioritize your wellness and your fitness. So busy moms. And what they need help with is column number 3. And let's say that they need help with staying healthy and active despite their packed schedules. So now we move to column number 4. And in this column, we want to list the benefits that they will experience when they listen to our podcast, when they listen to one of our episodes. What are the feelings or the takeaways or the actionable tips that they're going to be walking away with after they listen to your episode? And this part is, like, for me, the most touching one, because imagine having somebody listening to your podcast and taking action after they listen to your words. That's pretty profound. It's pretty powerful. So let's say I want them to feel confident. I'm gonna cry. Stop it, Veronica. Not here. Not in this video. Energize and strong. I want them to feel strong and that they can, provide for those babies. And you are going to do this process with 5 more ideas. And after you are done, there's this column right here to the right. Here is where you're going to rank your idea from 1 to 5, 1 being the one that you like the most, and 5 being the one that you're not too excited about. Let's put it that way. Then after you have chosen your winning idea, I need you to write it here in this field. There's a purpose for this. We're going to be gathering this information and we're going to be piecing together your value statement for your show. And then later on, we're going to use more information to create your trailer. So just follow along and trust me, this is going to make sense. You're going to love me for this if you are not loving me already. Please help me.
Mommy.
This is weird.
I'm going to type here in this box my winning idea, which is fitness and wellness. And we're going to keep using this as an example. Then after you have picked your winning idea, the next thing for you to decide is the format of your show or how you will deliver the content. And here I want you to think of how you will record your episodes. Are you going to record your episode solo? Or maybe you're thinking that you want to interview people, or maybe you're thinking that you may want to include a co-host, or tips and strategies, or maybe this is just sharing a story. So whatever the format that you think that you will use, then we want to use it. We want to type it out in this box right here. But once again, I don't want you to think through this too much. You may decide that you want to incorporate different formats on your episodes, or that you want to try one. And if you don't like it, you can change. Remember, we want to focus on getting started. So let's say that for this example about wellness and fitness, my main format is exploring practical tips and solutions with expert guests. So after we have decided on the format for our show, then the next step is to create the value statement. And I want you to look at this because, this is a work of art, okay? I color coordinated the whole template for you. The only thing that you need to do is just to go back and copy and paste it and replace the placeholders, and you'll be good to go. So let's try it. So in the value statement, I want you to include who do you help, what problems are you helping solve, what format you're using, all of the information that we have gathered so far. And then the only thing that you need to do is to follow the instructions here on the placeholders. Like for example, on this show, I help, and then you gather the information from the column number 2, which is who you want to help, and then tackle, and then you go and gather the information, copy the information from column 3, and then you paste it right here in the placeholder. And here's my example completed. On this show, we help busy moms tackle the challenge of staying active and healthy by exploring practical tips and solutions with expert guests around fitness and wellness so they can feel confident, energized, and strong. Step number 2 is all about choosing the right name for your show. And here, I don't want you to overthink it. Your name is not set in stone, and it can always evolve as your show grows. Right now, the focus is to create a name that feels good, reflects your value statement, and resonates with your audience. If we look at the worksheet, you can see that I divided this section in 2 sections. The first section is for those who already have a name. Maybe you already have a name in mind that you want to use. And if you're one of those, then this first section is for you. And what you want to do is to add the name that you have in mind here in this box. And then you want to run that name through this test. You want to ask yourself, is it simple and clear? Is it easy to pronounce and easy to spell? Does it avoid complicated words or tricky spellings? Is it unique? And I'm going to explain this to you. You want your podcast name to be as clear as possible because the way that you will grow your show is by word of mouth, and you want people to be able to recommend your show to other people. And if your name is complicated or they can't even pronounce it, they don't know how to spell it, then that will be tricky. Also, when you are telling people to subscribe or to find your website or on social media, if your name is too complicated, they won't be able to find you. And that's the reason why you need to pick a name that is clear and that people are not going to have a hard time spelling. Also, you want to stay away from things that only mean something to you, because then you will have to elaborate and explain yourself. And then we want to make sure that the name is not being used by other shows. This is important because you don't want to confuse your audience. Also, maybe you don't want to get into some legal issues later down the road when your audience is big enough and you are monetizing your show and is bringing a lot of revenue for you. And then there's another show with the same name, and that show has a trademark on that name. And then all of a sudden they ask you to stop using that name and you don't have the rights. So also, like going back to the word of mouth, when you are going to ask your audience to recommend your show, if they go and look for you, if they type the name on Google and then there are other 10 shows with the same name, then that will cause some confusion and your listeners won't be able to find you. So you don't want that. But if you don't have a name, don't freak out. I got you covered and you're gonna love this. Oh my gosh, this is good. We are going to use AI to help us generate names for our show. And you're gonna love this step if you've been using ChatGPT or any AI tool. This is going to be super fun. If you're new to AI and you're resisting a little bit, we're gonna do it together. The first thing that you're going to do is to sign up for ChatGPT if you haven't done so already. Then after you have signed up for ChatGPT, we're going to create a prompt that will help us generate 5 title ideas. I created the prompt for you. The only thing that you need to do is to go back to step 1 and copy the value statement and replace it here in this placeholder. And if you keep scrolling down, you can see how I use the value statement with the prompt. And I copied and pasted this into ChatGPT, and I chose a name that I really liked. Confident Mom Fitness. Yeah, you find the right name. Congratulations, I'm very excited for you. But before we keep celebrating and keep moving forward, you need to check that name. You need to make sure that nobody else is using that name. And the way that we want to do it is that we want to check against the podcast directories. You can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or simply run a Google search. And when you run a Google search, make sure that you add the word podcast after the name. So let's do it. Copy, paste, and then podcast. Crowned with confidence, stay-at-home mom, crowned with confidence. I don't think it's taken. So, yay! Nobody has it. Nobody. Yeah. Okay, cariño. We're almost there. I know that you're like, oh my gosh, ¿qué es esto? You're almost there. This is the third step, and it's going to go quick because you're going to gather information that you already worked on. It's as simple as that. Step number 3 is all about writing your podcast trailer, and here's what you need to know. You don't need to have it perfect. You just need to be real. This is your chance to connect with your audience, let them know what your show is about, and to ask them to subscribe or follow your show. And I have made this step really, really easy for you with a color-coordinated template. All you have to do is to copy and paste the information you have created in the earlier steps, like your winning topic, your format, and your value statement. We want to start a podcast trailer with the hook to get the listener's attention from the very beginning. We want to start with a bang. And for this, we're going to use the template. So here's the template. Are you A, column 2 from the table that we created in step number 1, struggling with column 3 from the same table? If so, you are in the right place. Welcome to podcast name. Then you follow with the value statement. And this is very important right here. I want you to tell me your why. I want you to include your why here in this part of the podcast trailer. It's super important because this is how you will connect with people. And I'm going to show you this in the example. Just bear with me. And then we follow with, I know how hard it can be too, and that's the specific challenge, the find time for fitness, etc. That's why I created this podcast to make it easier for people like us to thrive. The show launches on your launch date. In the meantime, follow and subscribe to be the first to know when episodes drop. Now let's see how it works with the example. Are you a busy mom struggling with staying active and healthy despite packed schedules? Welcome to Confident Mom Fitness. On this show, I help busy moms tackle the challenge of staying active and healthy by exploring practical tips and solutions with expert guests around fitness and wellness so they can feel confident, energized, and strong. As a busy mom with 3 kiddos who runs a business from home, I struggle to exercise and maintain healthy habits. I know how hard it can be to stay active and healthy despite a packed schedule. That's why I created this podcast, to make it easier for people like us to thrive. The show launches on. In the meantime, follow and subscribe to be the first one to know when episodes drop. Thanks for checking out Confident Mom Fitness. I'll see you in the next episode. You can add your name to this. You can personalize it. You can experiment. You can switch things around. But these are the basic elements that should go in your podcast trailer. And again, we want to avoid overthinking. Let's keep it simple and short. Congrats, you have all of the information that you need to keep setting up your show on Buzzsprout with Steven. And if you are the pausing type, this is a good place for you to pause the video and complete the 3T framework worksheet and come back. And here's my pausing face.
Well, hey, you just made it past the point where most people never do. And that's show development. Great job. And now that you have all of this important copy on your 3T worksheet, we can use your value statement for the description of your show. All we have to do is copy your podcast title here, or just type it right in here into Buzzsprout where it asks you to add your podcast details. I will put in Confident Mom Fitness. And now we can go ahead and copy your value statement and paste it into the podcast details on Buzzsprout here for your podcast description. And now we can go ahead and say, done. Let's start podcasting. And check it out. Buzzsprout has gone ahead and set up our podcast for us. And we're here now on the home tab where it's going to walk us through the next steps. And the next one on the list is to create your podcast cover art. Okay, we've completely finished the second step, which was show development. Now we can move on to step 3, designing your podcast cover. And for this, I'm going to walk you through this super simple way to do so. So even if you don't have any graphic design experience, we're going to jump in and do this together right now. From here, you can just click on choose artwork. And when you do, it brings us to the general info of our podcast. You can also access this at any time from this podcast info tab over here to the right. And here, this is where you can actually select a file to upload your artwork. So if you already have a podcast cover art, then you could just upload it here. Or what I want you to do now is follow along with me and click on this button right here and choose to design with Canva. If you already have a Canva account, you can log in here, or you can choose one of these options to sign up, and it takes just seconds. Canva Pro is amazing, and it makes graphic design accessible to everyone, regardless of their skill level. So I'm going to choose continue with Google and sign in with an email. And once you sign in this way, you're taken directly to this podcast cover template. So we are going to keep this really simple. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to scroll through these templates. You can also search through the templates with keywords. So for example, I have a fitness podcast here, so I can search for fitness. And then once you find one that really calls to you right now, that speaks to you, like that's a cool cover, then you're going to click on it and we'll change some things in the design. You can choose to adjust or change the colors. Of course, we're going to replace the words in the design with the title of our show, and bonus points here if you want to upload a photo of yourself and add it to your cover. A podcast cover is definitely something that gets updated as we grow with our show. Right now, we're just looking for something really simple. It can just be text, some simple colors that say the title of our show and give off the vibes that we're feeling right now for our show. So I will illustrate that by picking one from the fitness templates here. You will see as you're scrolling through these that some of the designs have this little crown by it, and those will be the ones you'll need to upgrade to Canva Pro to unlock. But there are a ton of really cool designs you could use with the free version of Canva too. So I'm gonna pick one that I like here. I love this one. It actually has a few different color variations that I can choose from right off the bat. There's also a place template style right underneath it where I can sort of shuffle through colors, and there's even more suggestions that are similar to this one if I want to consider some other suggestions as well. So you can see Canva is very accessible and makes designing really easy. All I have to do now is just change the words in here. So confident, and I'll have to resize this a little bit. And then here, mom, I'm gonna delete this text right here, and here I'll type in fitness. And that is a pretty amazing podcast cover pretty quick. And as I said, bonus points if you can use a photo of yourself. Perhaps I can be inspired by this and actually schedule a photo shoot with Veronica to get some photos of her while she's in the gym. And then I can come into the same design and replace these placeholder stock images with pictures of my actual podcast host. But this is pretty good for now. So now all I have to do when I'm happy is click on this button right here that says send to Buzzsprout. This integration with Canva is yet another reason Buzzsprout is so cool. So now I'm gonna go ahead and say save podcast info. And while we're in this podcast info tab here, let's check out what other fields we can adjust. You notice there's podcast category, there's language, time zone, and artist. I'm gonna wanna change this to Veronica because she is the artist or the host of this podcast. And for the podcast category, we're actually gonna wanna choose health and fitness to make sure our podcast populates in the proper podcast categories, which can help discoverability. So I'm going to go ahead and say save podcast info. And now our podcast is completely set up. If I go back to the home tab again, you'll now see the next checkbox is to upload our first episode. So this is another one of those pausing moments. Here you can pause the video if you'd like, complete this step, design your podcast cover art, and choose a category for your podcast. Save your podcast info and come right back, and together with Veronica, you're gonna record your podcast trailer. And here's my pausing face. Good luck. I'm excited to see what you come up with. Wow, we cruised through step 3. Now it's time for step 4, recording your podcast trailer.
As Steven mentioned, we're going to record the trailer in one chunk. We're not going to do any editing. And we're going to use this recording as our first episode. What you may want to do before you hit record is to read through the script a few times until you are familiar with every word. I want you to record your trailer with whatever equipment you have at your disposal. You may have already podcasting equipment, a USB microphone, or even the internal microphone on your laptop. And to illustrate this, I'm going to use the voice memo app on my phone. You'd be surprised with the results that you can get with this method. And after I'm done, I will share the file with my computer. So I'm going to illustrate this by using the voice memo app on my phone. So let's pull up my script. Are you a busy mom struggling with staying active and healthy despite packed schedules?
If so, you are in the right place. Welcome to Confident Mom Fitness. On this show, I help busy moms tackle the challenge of staying active and healthy by exploring practical tips and solutions with expert guests.
I did it!
With only 2 tries.
And here's a tip. Even simple apps like the voice memo app on your phone allow you to trim the beginning or the end of the recording in case you didn't start recording right away like I did. So I'm going to trim this out. Super easy. And now I'll share this file with my computer. Are you a busy mom struggling with staying active and healthy despite packed schedules? And if you are the pausing type, this is a good place for you to pause the video, record your trailer, and resume with Steven.
I can't believe this moment is here. Step 5, it's time to distribute and share your podcast with us. Oh boy, it's getting real. You've recorded your first episode, a coming soon trailer. Now all we have to do is pick up right where we left off. Here in the home tab of our Buzzsprout dashboard, we're gonna choose upload an episode to complete this next check. When you do so, you have the option to drag an audio file. I have the audio file here that Veronica texted me from her voice memos app, the Confident Mom Fitness Trailer. It has already uploaded this episode, so here now I can give it an episode title, trailer. You could also call it coming soon or come up with any episode title you want. And for the episode description, I'm gonna pop back into my 3T worksheet. I'm just gonna take the second half of my trailer because I think it makes for a really good episode description. I'll copy it, come back to Buzzsprout and paste it right here in my episode description. Maybe I can make a few adjustments. As we continue to scroll down through this episode information, we have the option to fill in a season number and an episode number. If you leave these blank, it will just automatically do what it's supposed to do. So I never really worry about those. But this episode type here, it can be really helpful to actually change this from full and change it to trailer. If you dropped any F-bombs in your trailer or you got real raunchy, you might want to click this episode contains explicit material here. And that's it. Now we can say save episode details. And here you can actually preview your trailer. But notice it tells us episode is not live. Once we're happy with the preview of the trailer, we can choose publish. And that's it. You have a podcast and it is now live on your Buzzsprout website and available in your RSS feed and playable in your embed players. And as you can see here, it becomes available in the directories within 24 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and say close window. And now let's talk about your podcast website and also distribution. So along the top, again, we have these tabs. One of them is website. This is where you can choose a plan to actually activate and have a website. When you click into there, you'll notice that we have different tier options. It's this lowest plan at $12 a month where you can actually get a website. So I highly recommend upgrading to that. And then once you do, you'll be able to customize your website, choose theme colors, add a homepage image, and actually have a website for your podcast. Now let's take a look at the directories tab. This is where Buzzsprout will actually help walk you through the process of getting listed on all of these podcast directories. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, iHeartRadio being the main ones. Notice, however, at the very top, it says for RSS feed ownership verification, go here and add an email address. You are going to want to do that and go ahead and add this email address to your RSS feed. This will make your email address available to those who want to find it on the podcast directories. And you can always remove it later, but we need to add the email to your RSS feed, which is really just the code behind the scenes of your podcast so that it can be read and approved by the podcast directories. Then we can just say get listed on Spotify. And all we have to do is click this button that says submit your podcast to Spotify. And it says your listing has been submitted. And that's it. Now, if you click on this Spotify button here again in Buzzsprout, it will tell you, please allow up to 24 hours for your show to pop up on Spotify. But it usually happens a lot quicker than that. But I'm gonna wait with the free version here and see how long it takes for mine to pop up on Spotify. While I'm waiting, I wanna show you a couple more things here in this Directories tab. You'll notice that there's some sub-tabs under this Directories tab. The first tab that we're on right here is Directories, where we can get listed on all of these directories. But we also have this one, RSS feed. And this is the link that I want you to copy and share with us. This is the real address, the real URL of your show right here. So what I'd like you to do is copy this link and then go to pss.media/myshow. And here you will see a simple form with 3 fields, your name, your email, and this URL, your RSS feed URL. Go ahead and paste it here and submit the form, and we will listen to your show and give you real feedback. If you decide to upgrade to a plan with Buzzsprout, you can of course share the URL of your website. And when your show shows up on Spotify, you can also share your Spotify URL with us at pss.media/myshow as well. And there are so many other cool features of Buzzsprout. In the Home tab, you'll find lots of resources that help you to set up everything you can imagine. And also Buzzsprout is here for you as your show grows and as you move from one stage to the next. One of the tabs you'll be checking out after your first 12 or so episodes is this Monetization tab, where Buzzsprout will actually help you to monetize and start making money from your show. They also have this amazing feature right here that you'll find under the Home tab called Dynamic Content. What this allows you to do is to create pre-rolls, mid-rolls, and post-rolls, or little audio recordings that you can create advertisements, and it will dynamically insert them into all of your episodes at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the episode. And it's dynamic, which means when you're ready to remove the advertisement, it magically removes it from all your episodes. So this way you can actually sell ad spots to sponsors, or you can create any imaginable promotional ad you have for whatever reason. If there's something you need to inform your audience of, you can create a pre-roll ad, and it will be added to every single one of the episodes in your catalog. There's also some other really fun features here to check out. Fan mail and magic mastering is really cool, especially if you're going to need to record more episodes like you did today with Veronica from your phone while you're waiting to upgrade your gear. So my podcast still hasn't shown up on Spotify yet, but I'm gonna let it keep waiting here and let you know how long it took my show to show up on Spotify. Okay, I went and made a tea, and by the time I came back, 20 minutes later, my podcast is already live on Spotify. I gotta show this to Veronica. Hey, Veronica, check it out. It's on Spotify.
Oh, yeah?
Are you a busy mom struggling with staying active and healthy despite packed schedules? If so, you are in the right place.
We are so proud of you. You follow the steps, you finish your podcast. We want to listen to it. Make sure that you go to pss.media/myshow so you can submit your podcast trailer to us. We will listen to it. We'll give you feedback. We're very, very proud and excited for you. You get started.
Yes, you did it. All right, now that you've got your show set up, it's time to get to work planning your first episodes and deciding where you are in this first stage of your podcast. Is it in your budget to get some podcast equipment right now? If you need to wait a little bit, no problem at all. You can keep using whatever you have and perhaps take advantage of magic mastering from Buzzsprout, which will turn those phone recordings into podcast sounding recordings. But as soon as it's possible, I highly recommend getting a podcast microphone. And I have this video right here where I talk about how to choose the best podcast microphone. But if you're looking for my all-around go-to, it's this one, the Rode USB pod mic. This is $200 US right now, but it's a USB microphone. So all you have to do is plug one cable into your computer. And what's really cool about this microphone is it has integrated into it a bunch of plugins and effects. So this will add compression and EQ and noise reduction to the microphone when you use it with the Rode Central app. This is a really cool microphone. I will leave a link for it in the description below. You will also find more resources in that 3T worksheet that you downloaded. And of course, we'll be giving you feedback on your new show where we can get to learn more about you and provide more customized feedback. So check out the video here, and I'm so excited to hear your podcast and hopefully get to meet you and become your official podcast coach. All right, my friend, until next time, happy casting.